Hello and welcome to Ula Tea Leaf Readings. My name is Lenor and tonight I'm going to be reading your tea leaves. This is a horoscope for Sagittarius. If Sagittarius is your solar, lunar, ascendant/rising sign, then this is a message for you. Okay, let's get started. All right. And let's see what these tea leaves have to say. And so, I hope you all are doing well. The card that has been picked from the pile tonight is the Aeon, or the Judgment. And this is a card that is all about birth, rebirth, awakening, coming to kind of sometimes difficult realizations, deciding how you're going to go about changing your circumstances and, you know, everything that kind of comes with that. So, you know, a good card, whatever good means, right? But also can be very, very difficult times. Okay. Just kind of getting a look here. Okay, so we have a few things going on here. All right, so I think that, you know, in alignment with the card, we have the serpent. It is on the move. You can see it's got the slinky kind of body there, and it is moving. It is moving. I think that this is kind of, you know, that spiritual knowledge that is transmuted into spiritual wisdom. It is processed throughout the psyche from the top down into, you know, a deeper wisdom, really affecting how you conduct yourself, how you live, who you allow in your life, what your boundaries are like, what your goals are like, what your ultimate will is, and how you go about honoring that will. I think that this is something that has been hard earned for you. Your life has not always been easy. You know, we've talked about in the past, in other Sagittarius readings, you have a tendency to be a natural caregiver. You are of service to others, and sometimes people take advantage of that. I know it's not easy to hear that you maybe are someone that has been misled, or, you know, people prey upon your kindness, your ability. It doesn't make you an unintelligent person. It doesn't say anything less of you. But that's, you know, the nature of the world sometimes, is people prey upon other people, and people take kindness for weakness, especially when you get involved at a young age or younger age, where, you know, you haven't been out in the world a lot. You've had a protected kind of life. It's easy to fall into situations where you know, you kind of, your experience of the world, of your worldview, is cultivated, you know, around somebody or somebody's who have really strong opinions and are somewhat controlling, maybe even narcissistic. But I see as you've gotten older, you know, things, you know, escalated, I think. And I see a house here. I see a person holding up what looks like maybe a child. I see another person over here. I see kind of a heap of things being thrown about. And I think that, you know, there have been times where life at home, the home that you have created, maybe had a family, things have been sometimes chaotic. It doesn't have to necessarily be physical abuse or, you know, outright fighting. But I think that there's been some issues with control, with, you know, just kind of trying to go along to get along, or things kind of get, you know, can be upsetting. Okay. And there is some amount of just, you know, emotional warfare, I would say. And I think that, you know, it's probably been over the years. This has been an ongoing situation, maybe even a cycle of relationships, maybe witnessing family members have relationships with similar dynamics, and then getting into your own relationships that have been unhealthy in different ways. And unfortunately, you know, and this is not, usually try to keep my readings lighter, but I feel like this one really is pulling itself out. And, you know, they're not all going to be happy, unfortunately. I wish they were all good news, you know. But it is, because there's movement here. There's a conscious shift, I think, you know, something is happening. There's some decision being made. But I think that over this time, over the course of this experience, which again, I think has been over many years, probably, you've become alienated from maybe your family, friends, you know. I think there's been a lot of times where you felt lonely. I wonder if you even have children who you are somewhat alienated from, you know. Maybe they are adults and they're gone, and, you know, you have a hard time relating to them because of this kind of oppressive force, energy that is looming in your life. If you are with the person still or not, you know, when you live a certain way, and you adapt to that way of living, even when that situation comes to an end, that doesn't mean that psychological torment dynamic ends. It takes a lot of work to relearn things, to redevelop different facets of your personality, how you do things. It just, you know, it's like somebody coming out of a situation of being like, you know, in a like Stockholm syndrome or something. And there has to be great empathy for self. I mean, that's the patience. You know, there's a lot of shame and guilt that comes out of a situation like this if you are at fault or not. You know, these things can happen to anybody. And so I think that, you know, you are making a choice for yourself. You're choosing yourself. And it might be small, little incremental choices to help you kind of move on, get out of this situation. I feel like I see an anchor here, and it feels like, you know, it's almost like a feeling of there's nothing beyond this thing, this little home, this routine, the few people that you know and talk to. Like, that is the whole world. And then you can't sometimes imagine that there's anything outside of that. Like, what would you do? How would you survive? But you would. You know, you would. And of course, I cannot give this, I have to give these disclaimers. I'm not a psychologist or a mental health worker, social worker, a doctor of any kind. I'm not a psychic or anything like that either. So I have no, you know, I have no licensing or anything like that. I'm just a person sharing what I see. It's for entertainment. It's all hypothetical things. But, you know, when you come out of situations where maybe there's been some amount of abuse, emotional abuse, psychological, spiritual, financial, physical, SA, whatever, you know, the many things that can happen in dynamics like this. You know, you have to be careful. And, you know, there are resources, and, you know, going about that carefully is important. Now, if, you know, if you're watching this, I hope that, you know, it's, you know, you're able to use the internet without being watched over or whatever. But, you know, I think it's important to find those resources, make a plan, of course. And if this does not apply to you, if this is not the situation, if you've maybe already left, maybe this is just a divorce. It feels like, you know, it has felt like a prison. And I shouldn't say just, I mean, a divorce in itself, separation, a loss of somebody you love that maybe has been difficult at times. You know, you can feel very lost. It can be very hard to start again, but you can, you know. And I always like to share my little, you know, anecdotal things and my 2 cents. But, you know, I had a long-term relationship when I was young for over 10 years, and when that ended, he passed away. And I'm sorry, those are my cats. it was very hard for me to figure out who I was. What was I going to do? It was so abrupt. And so much of my identity was tied up into my relationship. And, you know, I remember even standing in the grocery store and thinking, what kind of milk would I buy? Did I even like milk? Because I was always, you know, buying what we agreed upon. I didn't even know. I had no idea, you know, who or what I was. And it took years. I mean, literally being alone. I moved away to the middle of nowhere to be alone. I would go long periods of time without seeing people besides working, and you know, that's what worked for me to help me pull myself out of it, get my life together in a way that made sense to who I wanted to be, who I felt was authentically myself. And, you know, I never thought I would be able to do that. But I know, because I was so low when all of this happened, and I was so devastated. I know anybody can. I just know, you know, it's possible. There's hope. And I'm sorry, this isn't a lighthearted, it's not lighthearted, but I see there's an S here, okay, and I don't know who that is, but I also see almost like a little toy, it reminds me of a toy truck. And I wonder, you know, if this is some kind of, is this, you know, is this like a child, their favorite toy, a reminder, you know, of before everything. I also see a camel here. For me, seeing the camel is very hopeful. What it evokes in my mind here right now is survival against all odds. The ability to sustain itself for long periods of time in situations that are empty, devoid of life, but still they go on and they manage. They find a way. And I think that's the thing. That's what has kept you going, is that you don't give up on yourself. And there is that spark in you. And once you were untangled from this situation, I think that, you know, you will continue to just evolve in all directions, in all spheres. When you survive something like this and you're doing the work to end the cycles, to stop, you know, living out the patterns, the ordeals, you can't stop a person like that. That is a, you know, forged in fire kind of person. And I think that, you know, I believe, and here we go, we see a little, we turn it and we see a little mermaid. Okay, and in this way, I see somebody who is strong, who is able to, you know, navigate their psyche, their unconscious. When you are under a lot of stress in an environment, it's not uncommon to be somebody who can dissociate often from whatever is going on. The loudness, the uncertainty, it's something that we do to kind of not be present in a dangerous, our body, our mind, our psyche kind of clocks as being a dangerous situation. And that doesn't go away very often with people. Once you really become somebody who dissociates a lot, of course you can try to manage it through different kinds of therapies and techniques and things. But, like for myself, who I have CPTSD, yeah, that's right. It's hard to, anyways, I dissociate a lot. Not when I'm really stressed and things are really triggering, then yeah, it's way more often. But, it's just something that happens without even noticing. I just go into a place, and I thought everybody did that, really, honestly. I thought, I figured everybody kind of, goes far away from themselves. And so anyways, it's something that you can make useful as you get out of those situations, and you kind of, have a more safe environment, and hopefully are doing some kind of counseling or, therapy or whatever. And, I use it a lot for, like a place to kind of try to bring in the feelings of what got me here, a place to contemplate, a place to kind of gather my impressions of things, become aware in that moment, and almost kind of a sense of daydreaming, but it's not. It's kind of more like active imagination. And I think that I believe that if you have things like this, or the ability to meditate, contemplate, use active imagination, I feel like as you are going through the healing process, there will be just such an output of creativity. A lot of those energies you've had to use to survive, you'll still feel like you're in a survival mode, of course. I mean, that's another thing. It doesn't go away. But some of that energy, that excess static kind of energy, you can put into some of your, creative pursuits, building things, making environments that feel safe for yourself, that have an atmosphere that is pleasing. I think when you've been through a lot, you become a person who would really benefit from kind of creating very sensory dynamic situations. And they don't have to be like, bright colors and loud sounds or music. I mean, it could be very minimal, but creating situations where the aromas meet you well, the sounds support comfort, the colors, the lighting, the amount of things in your room, what all of these things, how you walk through your environment, where you like to sit in the room, make that a special place. These are things, little things, but they are important. You know, you need to create a nest for yourself to some degree. Okay. And this one, I see this beautiful, beautiful being in a robe or a dress. And I see just kind of almost casting off, shedding the skin, casting off that stuff, that rock that sits in your chest. You know, just letting it go. Making room for the next chapter. And it's going to be a fight to get there. You're a loyal person too. That's the other thing, you know. You're a loyal person. It's hard to make decisions that are favorable for you versus those who your loyalties lie with. And, you know, I think there are brief windows where you feel like you can get away from it all. And I think that they close quickly. But, you know, I think that you can take advantage of this configuration. I just want you to be safe and mindful and, you know, activate those resources, support systems, making sure you have those supports, that people know what's going on. Okay. Oops. And I see here, it reminds me of Nuit, the goddess of the cosmos or starry skies. Oh, and actually, you know what? I didn't even realize. On the card, there she is, over the top of Horus, and baby Horus, young Horus, right here. Okay. And here we have a bird, and here she is. It's mirrored in itself. And, you know, there's that bravery. Is that Horus or Osiris? I think that's Horus. He's green, so I wonder if it is Osiris. But it's young Horus. Hippocrates is the name of that, with the finger to the lips, silence of mystery. There's that heart, that burning heart, that solar disc, that sharp mind, the eagle, the hawk, these kinds of birds. They soar high because they are, you know, they're airy and intelligent and sharp and cutting. And Nuit, the protector of all of her children beneath her. All the stars in the sky, the cosmos, the universe, where all life comes from and all life returns to. Okay, well, I wish this wasn't such a heavy reading, but you know what? Sometimes it be like that. And I hope it touches at least one person who sees it, you know? These readings like this, I feel like, of course I love them to resonate with with as many people as possible, but you know, sometimes they're very narrow and they're difficult subjects, and you hope that, like, most people are like, oh, this didn't resonate. Not applicable to my situation. And it's like, yeah, I hope that's the case. You know, I hope you're having a happy life and have never experienced things like this. You know, but if you have in any way, I want you to know that you're loved. You're loved, you're loved, you're loved. Okay, so I want to thank you. I hate doing this spiel after I've done such a reading, so I'm just going to say, if you like the video, it helps the channel. If you haven't subscribed, please think about doing so. And if you want to leave a comment, of course. I read every one of them, and I appreciate every single one of them. Some of you have you're just so loving. You have the nicest things to say. Some of you, a little, you know, critical. That's okay. I can handle it, unless it's just mean, and then I'm going to delete it. I'm not going to lie. I'm sensitive like that. I'm not going to keep that around for me to look at. But then some of you are just so open and generous and vulnerable. Yeah, and I read your stories, and my heart, you know, feels very connected to yours, and I'm honored that you feel that you can share. So I want to thank you. Thank you, Sagittarius. We will talk again in about 7 days.